Hi, I'm Richard Holmes, and I love to write music. I love to play music, and I love to write it too, because I like to play the music that I think about, the things that I think about. My very first song was when I was 22 years old, trying to figure out what to do with my life. And the name of that song was Decisions. And it was all about trying to figure out where I was going to go. And the question is about what's right and what's wrong, and trying to decide that. And that's what that song is about. And that's how that started. I just started playing with that thing, and it goes, running through the darkness of the day, I find myself on the opposite one way. Life has so many changes, and it goes on. I found that decisions in life aren't really good decisions and bad decisions. Decisions either have a painful consequence or a less painful consequence, right? Because we make a decision and we think it's okay, and then it turns out to be really painful. And then other things that we make a decision that seem like they're going to be painful, but they turn out to be really good decisions. But the problem is, the only way to get good at decisions is making them, which means you have to take the risk. And if you make a choice, guess what? There is a consequence to every choice we make. And so, like when I wrote that song about decisions, I was just trying to figure out what was different, what was the right decision or wrong decision. I was 22 at the time, and I didn't know what I know now, which is, it's not so much about right and wrong, it's about pain and less pain. Because there are some things we think that are right. You see people in your life, they make decisions that they seem happy, they seem they're doing fine, but ultimately it's going to end up really uncomfortable. Like somebody who decides they want to just smoke and smoke. What happens? Well, they like smoking, but then that lung cancer hits them and they wonder, why did I do that? Because I really liked it. And so there's a consequence to every choice we make. And so that's what that was about, was trying to make decisions. And the thing I realized that no decision is final until you've done what you've decided to do. And that's one of the lines in the song. And then you get to live with the consequence, whatever it might be. And so we try to learn as much as we can, car accidents that I've had, motorcycle accidents, airplane accidents that I've had. I learned some stuff because each of those were about a decision. The decision was to take that chance and drive that car or fly that airplane or drive that motorcycle, and they ended up with some painful consequences, but I'm still alive for whatever reason. And so we have to learn. There's things I've learned by having a painful consequence that now I know I'm not going to do that anymore. It's tough as a parent because you don't want your children to make painful choices. Like your Uncle Phil, when he was a teenager, he would want to do something that I thought was particularly stupid. And I would say, well, Phil, I wouldn't do it, but it's up to you. Just be willing to pay the price. And he would say, I hate it when you say that. I was a teenager. And I said, really? It's your choice. You got to get good at making the choices, but there's going to be a price, so just be willing to pay it. And he had to pay lots of prices to pay for certain things. And he did. And it made him a great man. He's a great dad and just a great guy. And he had to learn to make his choices. Everybody does. But there's going to be a price to pay for it. So that's what that song was about, was trying to make decisions. And it's about things that were going on in life, like when I was trying to get one of the grandbabies to go to sleep. And so I came with this while I was trying to get him to go to sleep. Little baby, won't you go to sleep? Close those crying eyes. Your smiling face has given way to tired teardrops. The sun has gone to bed without a peep and lit those fireflies. Whisper softly that it's time to give your fears up. baby, sleep. Glide upon the wings of gentle slumber. Baby, keep safe until the morning comes. And then that goes on to another verse. And that was all about, baby, won't you go to sleep? Because Owen was having a hard time going to sleep. He was just a baby then. And so that's where I came up with that one. There'll be songs that come up just about things that I'm thinking about. Like life beyond this life. And so that song I wrote, that had all of the grandchildren's names in it. And that was a fun song. We've been living on this spinning world for years, looking up to the stars beyond the atmosphere. Tiny diamonds in timeless pattern shine upon our face, giving light to our thoughts of time and space. For life is surely more than this day-to-day of fears and dreams that fade away. I'm certain that there is a way to find the key that keeps our hearts entwined. For I will remember you, and you will always remember me in that dream beyond eternity. And that song goes on. And that is just about this whole nature of, we have children and grandchildren, and what happens to us all. And I always ask those questions, like what happens? The end has all of the grandchildren's names in it, but I had to rewrite it to include all of them now, because it started with like 5 grandchildren when I wrote it. And now it has all 18 of them. It still made it in the song. So anyway, that's what that song is about. Yep. Now I wrote that one because great-great-grandma, she'd be your great-great-grandma, she was trying to figure out whether she should get a pacemaker. And she was 82 years old, and she didn't want to live forever. But I was in medical school at the time, and she decided to ask me what my opinion about it was. And I said, well, how long do I want to live? If you want to get one, you're going to live longer. So that song was about her trying to figure out what to do about a pacemaker. I just have to remember how that one goes. This song is about a woman, strong and true. She's 82 and she's got this little secret of youth. Carries a tiny box inside her chest. It won't let her die, though she's tried her best. She's got a pacemaker thumping 1, 2, 3. Hear the pitter-patter beat. She's got 82 years of rhythm in her feet. They just won't let her be. To some she's great-grandma, and to some she's mom. Just hope she won't have to hear them saying great-great-great-grandma. The way that heart's pumping, she just vowed to be the last left on the family tree. She's got a pacemaker thumping 1, 2, 3. Hear the pitter-patter beat. She's got 82 years of rhythm in her feet. They just won't let her be. And that goes on. That was all about her. She was a great woman. She was a very active woman. Taught piano when she was 80 years old. She still had piano students. yeah, she was very active. So I wrote that about her. So Grandma Lyman, she was a very dominant woman. She had, I don't know how many children she had. My wife's mother is her daughter, and Grandma, I got to spend some time with her, and she just was just a little fireball. She was just somebody that she just did everything for everybody. She was just one of those very active women. She was a very just a delightful woman to be around. And the stories that all the grandkids have about her, your grandma, she can tell you stories about having Grandma teach them how to make quilts. They were always making quilts, but they always have something going on. But yeah, she was really wonderful. She thought the poor little woman would live forever. Unfortunately, she didn't have to. She was in her late 80s when she died. So, it's been a lot of years now. Yeah, I don't even know how many. At least, 30 years probably. Yeah, it's been at least 30 years since she died. Yeah. I hope so. Yeah, that's always the big question. What happens when we die? And nobody's coming back to tell me, and it really makes me mad. Because, in fact, Aunt Lisa, yeah, she was Grandma Lyman's granddaughter. They're different people, but Lisa was very similar to Grandma Lyman. And Lisa and I used to talk about what happens when we die. And Lisa died, and she's never come back to tell me about it. And it really makes me mad. And I've had a couple of dreams about her, though. Actually, I've had about 3 or 4. And in each of the dreams, we're working together as a family, like a big family activity, and we're working in the kitchen and just doing something and just chatting. And she always is wearing a dress, a floral dress, full pattern. And then we're chatting, and then I stop and I say, "Wait a minute, you're dead." And she looks at me and gives me this smile, and then turns around and walks off every time. And I've had that like 3 or 4 times. I've had that dream. And so I just assume that Grandma Lyman and Lisa are just as feisty as they used to be, whatever it is they're doing. So the little girl, she came to me and told me, "Daddy," and so what that was a dream that I'd had about a little girl. It wasn't specific. It was before my daughter Melanie was born. And so it wasn't a girl specifically, but it was a dream about a girl. And she was dressed in white, and she said that she wanted to come down and see me. And I said, at the time, we'd already had 2 children, and your grandma's pregnancies were so hard. They were miserable, throwing up every day, and so sick. And the thought of having another pregnancy was so brutal on her, but I was in residency at the time, and it's just one of those, you can weigh the pros and cons all day long, but we just ultimately figured we ought to have another baby, and so that song was a dream I had about this little girl, and I just remember very well how she was just dressed in white, and it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't a specific image of anybody in particular, so that's what that was about, and so that's where that came from.
Little girl, she came to me. She said, "Hey, Daddy, can I come home with you someday?" I said, "Dear baby, please, I'd love to have you here. I'll speak with your mother today." Woke up from a deep sleep, dazed. Don't know if I was dreaming, but I could not deny that face. Little girl in a dress so fine, so real, her voice divine. I just long to feel her embrace. Come, my little baby love, and fall to me from heaven above. And I will promise that me and my wife will give to
So the VA Blues was when I was in after medical school. You have to do a residency, 3 years of training, and you're working anywhere from 60 to 100 hours a week. And so part of my training was as in internal medicine, where you learn a lot about different kinds of illnesses and stuff. But it was at the Veterans Administration Hospital, they called the VA, and it was an older building, an old red brick building, and it was it was just brutal because they didn't have enough staff as far as nursing and things. And so the residents, the interns, especially the interns, I was a first year resident, we had to do all the stuff the nurses would normally do. We had to put in the IVs, we had to draw blood, we had to do all the vital signs, and they would come into the ER, and they would, if they decided they were sick enough to be admitted, then they were admitted to our service, and I would have to admit them, and me and the other residents. And so, like one night we had 13 admissions. In fact, we had more than that one time. But this was written because I had to be on call at Christmas time, and be working the VA. And the VA, you'd be working all day, all night, all day, and just pretty much straight with very little sleep. And so that is called the VA Blues because it's a blues song, meaning. I got the VA Blues, on call and walking the floor, on call. I got 13 admissions, please Lord don't give me no more. I'm working VA on Christmas, and nothing could be worse for sure. I put the IVs in, they pull those IVs out, middle of the night, and I am walking about. I'm doing scut work, baby, drawing culture, checking those lights. Oh, please, Lord, it's Christmas, just let me sleep an hour tonight. That's part of that song. That one, in fact, let's see. Pull that one up.
Children come and children fly away on the wings of choices every day, and they somehow seem to find a way on that path that goes from day to day.
Okay, and so that song was all about children making choices, and that all we can do is give them comfort and give them direction. And then you have to comfort the parent, because that's what that was about, is just realizing that time is a continuum, meaning it just goes on. Look at all these thousands of years that people have been having children. They keep reproducing. And people live, they die, and it just keeps going. And so that whole continuum is about trying to just find our way through it and try to find some comfort as we deal with all the different consequences of our choices.
Children come and children fly away on the wings of choices every day, and they somehow seem to find a way on that path that goes from day to day. Give them shelter, give them all they need, give them life's affection, and they will follow as their happiness will lead.
This one, try to find the right chord. about here? Okay. I have loved you for 1,000 years, long before the time that man had tears. I have loved you with 1,000 places you have touched in my heart. Even though the time seems seconds long, I have known that here's where you belong. Even though you hardly knew my face, I know my heart's in your heart. I will find my way to heaven's gate, where all the pain I breathe will be no more. And in that place I'll kiss your gentle face and hold your hands in my hand forevermore. So that song was about losing a child at 5 weeks of age that I didn't even get to see. Was the bad thing about that is, so what happens? And my feeling is that this whole relationship thing we have it's got to be more than today. I mean, as I thought about it, because something happens when we die, and even if it's nothing, that's something, but something makes more sense to me than nothing. So my thoughts about children? Yeah, so like Gus, that was a bad one because we lost Gus when he was 5 weeks. Although I'm glad that he doesn't have to deal with all the stuff that we have to deal with in life. That's good for him, but bad for us because, I mean, it's like if we'd lost Isabel walking out of a hotel room. I mean, it's that connection that we have with each other, you know. And with children, you don't know what you're going to get when you reproduce and you make children. You don't know. I found that just because we're related to each other does not mean that we relate to each other. You know what that means? We're related because of genetics, but it doesn't mean we're the same. We're different. And so we, like your siblings, you have 4 brother and sisters, and over the years you'll be friends with some more than others, you know, and it's just like our parents. Just because our parents reproduced us doesn't make us friends with them. But, you know, we try to be respectful as best we can. And so, so when you had children, yeah, you realize how little you control. And all you can do is love them. So like as a parent, I've found that I have 4 major responsibilities when I choose to have children. The first one is to protect them. The second one is to teach them. The third is to provide for them. And the fourth one is that they know that I love them. Now, when does the responsibility to protect them, when is it not possible? When do I lose the ability to protect a child? Age 1. That's when they walk away from me. And I can't protect them if they walk away. In fact, if a parent tries to protect a teenager, the parent becomes their enemy, not their advocate. Because if your parents try to control you, because they're protecting you, you just get mad at them for trying to control you. But they're just trying to protect you, but they really can't. You know, all they can do is hope. So the second thing, when does the responsibility to teach a child no longer, when do you not have the ability to teach a child? About the age of 13, because that's the one they know more than their parents. So as a parent, I learned, advice unrequested will seldom be respected. Like if I try to give you advice and you didn't ask for it, are you going to listen to me? No, you didn't ask for it. What do you care? And so parents try to give advice when a child doesn't want to learn. And so it's like, okay, they can try, but parents do that so they don't feel guilty for not trying to teach them. But you're going to listen to them if you want to. So that's that responsibility to teach them. It's really hard after about the age of 13. The fourth is responsibility to provide for them. When does that go away? when the child is mentally and physically capable of providing for themselves. A 40-year-old guy living in his parents' basement playing video games all day, yeah, that's not very good parenting. But the parent has to figure that out. When the child, like I started getting a job as soon as I could, so I had money so I could pay for gas to drive the car, and just to be responsible. And then the fourth one, the responsibility that a child knows that their parent loves them. When does that go away? Never. Like parents, they have to discipline. They have to come up with rules, and you have to try to have those relationships. But when a child doesn't follow a rule, and the parent has to say, okay, well, here's the choice you made, here's your consequences, the child still has to know that the parent loves them, you know. And so that whole relationship as far as children is a matter of being very patient and figuring out how do we live within the rules and how do we have hope with each other. We just hope. I hope as a parent that I'm not too stupid. And I hope that my child is not too stupid. That we both can figure things out, and that we know that we love each other, and they'll make choices and do the best they can. I'll do what I can to teach, and I'll do what I can to protect, but there's not very much I can do as they get older. Light Above the Rain was written because our life, sometimes we get stuck in thinking about the rain instead of what's up above it. Because we have all these hard things in life, and we just have to kind of remember, if we can just get through that and look above it, and what's above rain? Clouds. What's above that? Sunlight. And what's sunlight? Sunlight just makes us happy. And so sometimes we have to get through those difficult times that we have when all we're thinking about is the rain coming down on us, and the clouds without being able to see the sun. But if we can look above that, there's always the sun above the rain. So what I've thought about that one is frequently, there's always someone out there whose life doesn't turn out like they plan it. And I always see that a lot of times in women, because women give up things important to them for the sake of other people. And so sometimes a woman is just going along thinking she's making good decisions and go in her direction and thinks she's going to end up in a particular place, and then finds out wasn't at all what she thought was going to happen. And so just trying to be able to get through that, figuring out that, you can make plans, but life never quite turns out like we plan it. But if we just keep going, we'll end up at our destination, but maybe a different path than we thought.
Every single day there is a girl out there, gliding on a tranquil, gentle sea, smiling along her way to a peaceful paradise, until a moment shatters all her views ahead, forever drowning all the dreams within her head. Now ever trying to discover how this came to be, wishing all the pain would disappear. Careful to hide her heart as her hope soon falls away, and she will never show a fallen tear again, and never open up her tender heart within. Not ever. Try, baby, one more time. I do believe in you.
Anniversary, yeah, because Pam and I have been married for a lot of years. And I wrote that one to just describe how we started out just as friends. And then we started holding hands. And then we were more than friends. And how as we stayed together, we ended up with things that we thought were pretty happy. And then we had children, and they made children. And we now have, instead of 4 children, we have 8 children, and which is great. And then they gave us all these grandchildren. And so that was just about how you start out in a relationship, and you're just friends in that relationship, and then it becomes something so much more.
I remember those early days when I loved you as a friend, and I beheld in you the kindest face there had ever been. Then that friendship grew more each time that our hands and hearts entwined, and I still see that day you turned to say you'd be forever mine. Visions of life through eternity are in the hearts of those who live their lives in love. And I give thanks for every day you send your gentle love my way. A selfish man like me, you molded carefully by loving patiently.
Stay By Me, yeah. My cousin, Pam's cousin Lisa, she was our best friend, and she liked to write, and she wrote poetry sometimes. She wrote this particular one about Stay By Me, where life is kind of hard, and believing in something more than just yourself and this life, and believing in Christ and God, and that there's this influence that sometimes you just beg it to stay by you so that you can get through that next thing. And in that poem, I saw a song in that poem, not just a poem. So I took that poem and made the song "Stay By Me," and she really loved it. And so and it even talked about like what happens when I die, and at the end, stay by me. And she ended up dying, and so before she died, she developed cancer that we knew was gonna kill her for sure. And so before she died, I had that song. I had a guy make more instruments to it, and so there's actually a version with other instruments in the background. And so I played that and sang that at her funeral, at the graveside. And so that one is something that just reminds us of her, because how she looked at her perspective of life and death, and it was just a great perspective.
When all peace has flown from me, it's only darkness that I see. A wretched wanderer I would be. Stay by me. When my wounded heart bleeds red, I hang down my weary head. Oh, hold me with your arms instead. Stay by me.
I'm so glad that I was able to put together this collection of songs that I've written over the years. These songs are about my life and about my emotions and about my thoughts and about the many wonderful relationships that I've had. I am grateful for such a good wife, such wonderful children and grandchildren, and for a mother who
really influenced me musically because of the emotions that I felt as I would listen to her play the piano. She was such a kind soul, and I have always hoped to be able to have that same kindness in my life. My desire is for my children and grandchildren to keep music in their lives as well. And they should write some music too.
For I will remember you, and you